Hi guys, in this next series of videos we're going to be learning the context of 16th and 17th century poetry. We're going to look at an overview of poetry in this era, then we're going to look at examples of some of the common poetic forms in this time, and look at how we might incorporate context into exam-style questions, and look at an example of a paragraph of poetry analysis that does this.
So firstly, let's examine a brief history of the types of poetry that was being written in the 16th and 17th century. Firstly, in the 16th century, mainly poetry was being written in the Elizabethan times. This poetry primarily focused on religious and humanist subjects, i.e. philosophy, the body, etc. One of the major types of poetry written in this time was love poetry. The sonnet was the most common fixed form of poetry at this time, and when I say fixed form, I just mean a poem with a certain amount of lines, a certain rhythm structure, or a certain rhyme structure. Poems were often written for individuals as a token of love, or for benefactors who sponsored writers, and therefore they were not commonly written for general publication. So moving on now to quickly look at the 17th century. In the 17th century, we saw many changes in politics, philosophy and science, which greatly influenced the poetry of the time. Metaphysical poetry was the main type of poetry at this time, which explores challenging old ideas. Metaphysical poetry was highly intellectual and often extremely complex, and we'll be examining metaphysical poetry more later on in this video. It's important to mention here that in this century the English Civil War happened and Charles I was beheaded. Charles II was then brought back to the throne in 1660, and therefore we can see that ideas of politics and art's place in the world was highly confused at this time. It's important to say here that when the Puritans and Cromwell took over from the monarchy in this era, they shut all the theatres and did not like expressions of love or sex or intimacy. And so you can see the vast difference in Charles II, who was quite a party king, and Cromwell, who was very anti kind of expressing yourself. And so we can see that the conflict of how to express yourself was politically important, and therefore we can see this reflected in the poetry of the time. So firstly, let's take a look at the sonnet form.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're looking for an amazing A-level English literature resource, join me today in my series of engaging bite-sized video tutorials. Together, we will concisely cover all the important concepts required by your exam board specification, as well as practically apply what we have learnt through exam-style questions, focusing on how best to structure your answers in order to maximise marks. See you soon, and together let's make A-level English literature a walk in the park.